Hi, welcome to Rogers TV. My name is Kevin Young, and today I'm going to be talking with our mayoral candidates and ask them a few questions. These are randomly generated questions from AI that are targeted towards a lot of what we need to understand about the Corner Brook, about the city of Corner Brook, and what powers our council and mayor may have to make some of those changes. So a lot of these questions you might have, and we'll be asking them today, and hopefully the answers that we get from our candidates will be to your liking. We're going to start things off with mayoral candidate and current councilwoman, Pamela Gill. So Pam, welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. So Pam, I'm going to start things off with a bit about some budget questions. So in 2025, the operating budget was about $41.9 million with no increase to any property or business mill rates. Now, a raise of $20 in residential water sewer fees did occur. How will you contain water treatment chemical costs to avoid any further hikes?
Okay, so it's not just about me, it's about everybody. Everybody can take control of this issue. We need to conserve. You know, I'm guilty of it myself. I leave the tap running so my cat can drink out of the tap. My son gives me grief for that all the time. He says, "Mom, you're wasting water." Every one of us needs to take control of that issue. Turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth and so on. Right now, though, we are, as far as the city is concerned and the work that we're doing to keep chemical costs down, we employ a contract that is detecting water leaks, so we can fix those, and that will reduce our water wastage, thereby reducing the amount of chemicals that we have to use.
All right, so the new Redmond Center, the Marina Redmond Center, opened up in May of 2025.
Yeah,
it's beautiful,
exciting.
by the way.
Exciting.
What is your plan to keep user fees affordable while also hitting cost recovery targets and broadening programs?
Wow, that's a big one. So, as of course I'm sure you're aware, we have staff that operate that facility. Our director of recreational operations is in charge of that. So staff will develop those sorts of plans, bring them to council, and then of course we vote yay or nay on various options. It's really important for council not to get down in the weeds with operations. It's very important that we let the staff that we hire, the experts that we hire, do their jobs, and then once they've done that work, they bring it to us. And for the most part, council takes their advice. Every now and again there's a hiccup, but I'm confident that they'll be able to move that forward, as you've suggested, yeah.
All right, so Newfoundland Labrador Housing's 50-unit Crestview build had no successful bidders.
No.
The province pivoted to 6 one-bedroom units at about $2.6 million, but how will the city de-risk and expedite additional affordable units?
You know, I just want to start by saying I'm very unhappy about what's happened there. That's not what we were told was going to happen. And if you don't get bidders, you need to look at what you're putting out for your RFP or your call for proposals. And you need to see what's in there that's keeping people from bidding on this project. So we have already been working with CMHI, Community Mental Health Initiative, and the Status of Women Council. And we identified a parcel of land just off Hilliard's Road, where they're going to be implementing affordable housing that will reflect the needs of the people that are going to be using it. One of the reasons why Crestview wasn't working as well as it could have before it was, before it burned down, is because the units were designed for families from 20, 25 years ago. We don't have families with 5 kids anymore. We don't need units that have 3 or 4 bedrooms. In many cases, units with just 2 bedrooms would be fine, or even if there's just a couple with no children, a 1-bedroom unit. So those are the sorts of factors that this new affordable housing unit will take into consideration. Also, it will be all on one level, so it'll be accessible, which is incredibly important, and that's something else I could wax eloquent on, but I'll stop there.
Well, staying in that kind of same line, council did commit to city-owned land operations for supportive housing.
Right.
Which parcels, which partners, and what timelines
Okay, so
will you
as
pursue?
I just mentioned, right, so Community Mental Health Initiative, status of Women Council. Hullabaloo as well have been in on those conversations. And interestingly, I had a meeting recently with an employee of Hullabaloo, and it is still their #1 issue. We are going to have to identify more parcels. Just identifying one parcel of land for this particular project I just mentioned, that's not good enough. We need to get in there on that map, and everybody, you can all go on the map. It's an interactive map that shows what areas are zoned, you know, residential zones versus business zones and that sort of thing. We need to get in there and roll up our sleeves and see what else we have available to offer for these sorts of projects. So those partners can put those proposals together and get the funding that the city might not necessarily be able to achieve, but those sorts of organizations, not-for-profits, they will qualify for that sort of funding, move those projects forward.
So Deep Gulch, the Deep Gulch Brook storm sewer work is still ongoing. Of course, it's kind of frustrating to some, but necessary for the city. What's your flood resilience plan?
Flood resilience plan. I was reviewing the climate action plan for Corner Brook recently in preparation for running for mayor. And there's all manner of awesome ideas in there, and many of them have been checked. The boxes are checked. For instance, the Civic Center's been refitted so that it uses less energy. But one of the things that was missing in that plan was erosion, flood zones, and that sort of thing. So we need to do more work on that piece. A gentleman who lives across from me on Valley Road, his backyard is actually eroding into the river that runs down through there. So that's just one example. When you live in a coastal community, it's easy to see that erosion. We've seen it happen on the south shore of the Bay of Islands. We've seen, you know, when big storms come through, we've seen those sheds wash out to sea or houses moved off their foundations. Corner Brook has a very small, like a limited coastal profile. So sometimes I think it might get lost in the mix, but we have lots of rivers, we have lots of streams, we have houses that are built on the cusp of those bodies of water. And I think that's an area that we need to focus on going forward for sure.
So after the Mount Bernard Avenue reconstruction program that went on, what are your next 3 road priorities, and how will you stage them to limit or mitigate any disruptions?
Oh, the disruptions. Yes, I hear it from my husband all the time. Why do they have to do everything all the one time? Well, of course, everyone knows we have a very limited season, okay? So I'm not going to tell you there aren't going to be disruptions going forward. There will be. It's just the nature of city work in order to make our infrastructure better for the people who live here. If we do the work in the summer, then in the winter, that work performs the way it should, so that we don't have as many breaks, freezing water, flooding systems. But it's got to be the summer when you do the work. There's no other way around it. As for my next 3 projects, again, those will be identified by staff and brought to council, brought to me, you know, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected. And then council will have a look at the cost analyses, what can we get done in this length of time, what's reasonable to get done. So I can't say off the top of my head, this street, and this street. I need to wait for the expertise of staff to bring that to me. Although I will say that Walburns Road irritates me beyond measure, and I would love for us to see if we can find a solution, because every year the water running down that road, it just washes it all away. There's got to be a solution, and we need to listen to the residents who live there to determine what that might be.
How will you manage any long-term maintenance liabilities like the Curling Street retaining wall and similar high-risk assets?
Well, again, it's a staff question. So the staff are the ones that are on the ground. Yes, we can identify things. So if I see something that I think is a liability, oops, I'm sorry. If I see something that's a liability, I'll bring that to staff. And one thing, this is a good opportunity for me to educate our public. So we have a system, this platform called E11. So anytime anybody calls in, if you call in 709-637-1666 to report something, the person who answers the phone enters that information into the E11 system. So every complaint, every suggestion is all logged in this system, and it's assigned to a particular department and to a particular supervisor who will then sub-assign it to somebody in their department. So these suggestions or complaints or whatever you want to call them, they don't disappear. They're all logged in there. I can go in today, put in my credentials, and I can look up every single piece of work that's being done in Corner Brook. I can see which ones have been resolved. I can see which ones are still in the queue. So it's really important that if citizens identify significant issues such as the curling retaining wall, something that maybe we can nip in the bud before it gets any worse, it's essential that they call that line, 709-637-1666. I can't say it enough. And then that will be identified and logged in there, and it won't be ignored.
Okay.
We'll get at it.
So now the 13-kilometer waterfront Great Trail is being completed, and it looks fantastic. Can't wait to see it be completed. Will you winter maintain key segments and connect it safely to schools, Grenfell campus, and even the port?
That would be cool to do that. That's not something that I've considered before, but I do think that's a good idea. And again, we would sit down with staff and work out how we would make those trails more interconnected, interactive, for sure.
Now, an important question for many who use city transit. The province funded some free monthly bus passes for low-income residents. It's on a 2-year pilot, which started back in April of this year. But how will you maintain or scale it kind of post-pilot?
Well, the pilot offers free, which means we don't have the money. So if we don't have the money and we continue not to have the money, are we going to miss the money that we never had? So I would assume that we're just going to continue with that program ourselves, and because it's an important measure, an important. I'm not being very articulate at this moment. It's important for people's ability to live, to be able to get from point A to point B, and our new accessible bus, of course, allows people that have disabilities to be able to carry on their lives, go to doctor's appointments, go shopping. If they have the credentials from their doctor, they can call, make an appointment, and get picked up and brought to wherever they'd like to go, and then they get brought right back home again. So transportation is key to the well-being of our residents in Corner Brook, for sure.
So residential fully serviced mill rate remains at 8.0. With a $670 annual water sewer unit and a $275 minimum tax, will you adjust rates, bans, or relief programs to improve equity?
And equity means?
Well, if we look at our seniors, if we look at low-income persons, things like that.
Okay. We currently have a system that does benefit seniors and low-income residents if they provide to us their annual income per household. There are benefits already in place. Nobody wants to see taxes go up. We have to have a balanced budget by law. We're legislated to have a balanced budget. So nobody wants to see that happen. How will I ensure that it doesn't happen? Again, staff, we sit down, we go line by line. We take 3 nights, we sit down with the budget, and we pick the poop out of it and really natter over little things. Every little thing matters, even if it's a small amount. If enough of those little things add up to a big thing, and then we're able to pass that on to the citizens in the form of either holding where the mill rates are now, or even decreasing them. And I would love to be able to decrease mill rates for citizens in the next budget, absolutely.
Now let's move on to something a bit more, I guess, joys for the city. And let's talk about some cruise ships things and what's happening at the port. So cruise calls do remain a strong part of the city of Corner Brook, and the port is also adding warehouse capacity at the moment. What is your downtown port shuttle kind of wayfinding or crowd management plan on those peak days?
Yeah, it gets really crowded, doesn't it? Do you know that we had, I think so far, or by the end of the season, we will have had 37 cruise ships come through, 37 or 38, I think it is. It does get really crowded downtown. Communication is one of the biggest pieces. So let the citizens know that the cruise ship is coming in. Perhaps you decide to take a different route to accomplish what it is that you need to get done that day. How do we communicate? There's no newspaper anymore. So this is an excellent opportunity for me to plug what I'm hoping to do, which is have a Corner Brook quarterly, so that every 3 months you get a newspaper in your mailbox, and it outlines all the things. When are the cruise ships coming in? When are we going to be doing pothole repair on certain streets? I think that should all be public, by the way. I think that anybody should be able to go online and see where their street is in the queue for infrastructure work. I'm way off topic now, I know that, sorry. But with respect to the waterfront, one of my platform ideas was to do a 4-year program, 4-year plan to ameliorate the look of our waterfront, the way that wayfinding would be identified, as you suggested, and also what interacting pieces we need. Shuttles, who's going to be the shuttle? How do they interact with our city workers? How do we get people from point A to point B? Does the mill whistle enter into it? So that's minutia now, what I'm talking about. But you know, on tops of trees, a solid 4-year plan for what our waterfront is going to look like, because truthfully speaking, it's not that attractive right now. And I really think we can, if we make a concerted effort and listen to citizens about what they'd like to see there, like we did with the farmers market. We asked citizens, where would you like to see the farmers market? So wouldn't it be great if the farmers market were down there, and then people coming off the cruise ships can come and see all of the produce. Our people can go, but there's a lot of different places the farmers market could go, but I'm just I'm blue skying.
Keeping to the idea of the waterfront, let's talk about Kruger for a second here. Kruger announced a proposed $700 million transformation of Corner Brook Pulp and Paper. What municipal levels will you use to support any of the diversification while protecting our taxpayers? Okay,
so it's important to realize that in that sort of diversification that they're doing, there are a number of different plug-ins there. So for instance, the Center for Research and Innovation, which was the former HR building, the research that's being conducted there has helped them develop how they're going to diversify. So how can waste be used from the mill, for instance? Well, that waste has been proven to help crops grow better than, say, lime treatments. They've done these analyses on, at experimental farms to see wood ash, how can that help agriculture? What sorts of products can they make? What markets are there? We had business faculty investigate what markets and what products might be required in Europe. So there's a lot of different moving pieces and a lot of different plugins in that scenario. How does the city fit in? Well, the city's a partner in CRI. We contributed a dollar figure to the renovation of that building. We also interact with Grenfell campus through programming where students come and work with our city engineers, sit down with a particular problem and work through it. So perhaps that's another way that we could work with Corner Brook Pulp and Paper to take their, I guess, their vision for where they're going even further down the road. Certainly the city is incredibly supportive of Corner Brook Pulp and Paper. We wouldn't be here if the mill hadn't been established in 1924-25, so, or 23-24-25. So absolutely, it's critical that we work with them to help them accomplish their vision.
Now, I asked you a question earlier, a bit about water treatment. So we're going to go back to that for a second here. Water treatment chemicals costs have surged. Now, beyond fees, what demand management and leak reduction measures will you deploy to stabilize operating costs?
So again, I think it's communication. It's about doing that educational piece around turning off your tap when you're brushing your teeth and that sort of thing. Every little bit helps. Don't water your lawn just because you can water your lawn. Wait until your lawn actually needs to be watered. And this isn't just for Corner Brook residents. I don't know if Corner Brook residents realize, but we also provide water to Mount Moriah and Massey Drive. So this is a message for those residents as well, to do as best they can to reduce the amount of water that they're using. Because every time we waste water, that's chemicals going down the drain, so to speak, which means we have to buy more chemicals, which, as you say, the price is surging. So if we help, if we take measures ourselves, it will help us keep our bottom line lower on that chemical piece. Yeah.
How will you formalize collaboration with Qalipu First Nation on things like procurement, place naming, cultural programming, and even youth employment, given its head office is here in Corner Brook?
Yeah. So we have a very special relationship with them. Projects such as the Majestic Lawn, the wall there, and CB Nui was a great example of highlighting Qalipu and other Indigenous cultures in that space on Friday night. It was wonderful to see. We have to work closely with Qalipu. Procurement. I'm curious to know what you mean by procurement.
So I guess when it comes to Qalipu's desires for certain things, like any procurement of assets or things like that, like what is the city willing to do?
Oh, do you
to
mean
work with and help out?
To designate land for them, for a landless band? Is that what
As an example, yeah.
Okay, for sure. Wow, that's a big question, and that's not one I can answer by myself. And that's even a provincial question, to be honest. I mean, Qalipu don't just live in Corner Brook. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable answering that question right now. I think that's a tricky one. Of course, we want to be able to say, you deserve to have this land. But we would have to go into negotiations, have conversations. I mean, that's the process, obviously, consultation, working together. But as for the outcome of that, I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to guesstimate what that might look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any final comment that you would like to say to voters before Election Day?
I really think we need to start thinking outside the box. I know people have heard that before. They're probably tired of hearing it. But honestly, why do we do things the way we do? Why do we insist that businesses pay all their taxes up front? Why can't we let them meet it out during the year? And that would take a burden off them. You know, instead of having to come up with X number of dollars on a certain date, they could pay it off over time. That's just one example. And that was for a resident mentioned that to me, which I think it makes perfect sense. So listening to our residents is so important, because not everybody has the answer to everything, but we have so many people living here that have great ideas. Why wouldn't we listen to them? Another one, speaking of business, businesses that employ subsidized employees, when they have to do their payroll remittances, I mean, that takes a lot of time and it's a lot of money. Why can't we offer small grants to businesses that are hiring employees that are subsidized, such as Qalipu positions or people that are getting grants from other organizations, you know, Canada Student Jobs and that sort of thing. Why can't we help them out a little bit or have a conversation with them? Maybe it's not even a financial thing. Maybe it's a different kind of support thing. So thinking outside the box, listening to residents, getting good ideas from the people that we are serving, and working together and communicating.
Well, Pam, thank you so much for coming in and answering these questions. All the best to you in the upcoming election. That's happening, of course, on October the 2nd. So when you are ready to go, and of course, advanced polling will begin on the, is it the 23rd?
So speaking of the 23rd, Deputy Mayor Linda Chaisson and I are working together to provide residents with an opportunity to see the 15 council candidates. So we're going to be having an event at Bennett Hall on September the 23rd at 7 p.m. And each of the candidates will be given an opportunity to say a few words. And then afterwards, we'll have a little meet and greet. So Linda and I are the co-hosts. We won't be participating because we don't want to be perceived as biased in any way, shape, or form. We're just offering this forum for candidates to be able to interface with their public for one night before the official election on October 2nd.
Don't forget to get out and vote. Vote for the candidate that you feel best represents you and your voice. And again, Pam, best of luck for you on October the 2nd.
Thank you.
All right, so next up we have our current Deputy Mayor, Linda Chaisson, who is also running for mayor. And we're going to ask her the same 15 questions. So Linda, I want to start things off with a question I think that pertains to both people as well, residents as well as our businesses. And that is the 2025 operating budget, which was $41.9 million, had no increase to property or business mill rates, but it did have a $20 raise in residential water and sewer fees. How will you contain water treatment chemical costs to avoid any further hikes?
Chemical prices are global and certainly not in the city's control. No, stop it. Okay. Chemical prices are global and certainly not in the city's control, but as mayor, we will certainly be looking other places rather than where we are getting our chemicals right now to see if we can get a better price and drop hopefully drop some of the fee. And we'll also look at leak reductions. They're a big one. Our leak reductions are costing a lot of money for the water. So we do have a leak detection equipment now that goes out and looks for leaks. So all of the leaks should be, if they're detected, then we should be able to save on our water consumption.
So the new Marina Redmond Center opened in May of 2025 this year. What is your plan to keep user fees affordable while hitting cost recovery targets and broadening programs?
Okay, it's our first time ever having a pool, and obviously there's going to be kinks to work out along the way. We have to listen to our user groups, we have to listen to our families, we have to listen to the seniors who want to participate in this valuable center for seniors to enjoy healthy living, families to enjoy family time, and our user groups to get together to be able to bring competitions and things like that to our city of Corner Brook. We will be open to all people coming together. This will be definitely a team approach for everyone.
Now, NL Housing's 50-unit Crestview build had no successful bidders. The province did pivot to 6 one-bedroom units at $2.6 million. Now, how will the city de-risk and expedite any additional affordable units?
Interesting question, seeing last night that we approved the request for proposals for somebody to build 6 of the 20 units that are scheduled. That was approved last night. Hopefully we're going to get some uptake on that. The provincial government on September the 12th issued a tender, and we put out the RFP last night, and hopefully that will be successful. And if it's successful, it depends on the province and developers, but we have to get the province to the table. We have to work with them as a city and with our permitting, when it comes to example of streamlining our permits, donating land maybe, I don't know, but our land is already donated there. But choose wisely and work together as a group, not in silos.
Council committed city-owned land donations for supportive housing. Which parcels, which partners, and what timelines will you pursue?
Any land donation that's required with the city requires city approval, council approval, through working with our developers. And they identify the parcels of land and bring it back to us with the good, bad, and what should be avoided. How can we help them? We can help them with water, sewer. We can help them with permitting. We can expedite some things to get this on the move.
Deep Gulch Brook storm sewer work is ongoing. What's your flood resilience plan? For instance, looking at green infrastructure, daylighting, or culvert upsizing.
Deep Gulch Brook, we all smile when we see that because that's been on the books for many, many years. It was a sinkhole, and we tried to deal with that. However, it was a lot more extensive than what even the city thought it would be. So the storm sewer work, like Deep Gulch, needs to be backed at least 5 years extension plan, because it doesn't happen overnight. And the tear up, what we had to replace, and we also have to take in consideration right now climate change and how that is affecting our culverts and things like that. So I would advocate for green infrastructure. Our culverts, now that we are replacing, are bigger than the ones that we took out to be able to drain the magnitude of water that comes out through. And look at federal climate funds to help us limit the disruption.
Now, after the Mount Bernard Avenue reconstruction, what are your next 3 road priorities, and how will you stage them to limit any kind of disruption?
The top 3 road priorities is a very hard one to answer. Even as a mayor, you need, that comes from the development and planners, obviously. But if I'm mayor, I will lead our council to listen to the people, listen to the residents. When they call and say that their gravel road needs to be graded, needs to be paved, we need culverts, we need drainage, then we have to listen to them. Right now, as it stands right now, we have 19 gravel roads in the city of Corner Brook. And some of them are very, very difficult to get up and down, even in the summer with the loose gravel, and harder in the winter. So I would look at prioritizing one over the other is not a fair question. However, let's listen to our residents. This would be certainly a great town hall meeting. Get them all in and raise the pros, the cons. How can we help you? And prioritize from there.
How will you manage long-term maintenance liabilities like the Curling Street retaining wall or similar high-risk assets?
Okay, with the assistance of staff and council, reserves must be dedicated to monitor high-risk areas and becoming proactive and listening to the residents. And I think sometimes that we don't listen enough to the residents and their concerns. They drive these roads every day. They know what's priority. They know what's a risk. They know what's good on their roads, but they also want to let us know. And the city, as a city, a lot of our infrastructure is very old and needs to be replaced.
The 13-kilometer waterfront Great Trail is being completed. It's a beautiful trail. And I'm curious, will you winter maintain key segments of that trail and connect it safely to schools like Grenfell campus and even the port?
This will definitely be a full council decision. I mean, based on priorities and feedback from the public, once again, I would support school routes, most definitely. I would definitely support port connections and look for cost sharing from our stakeholders to keep the cost manageable. And that's why if I become mayor, I want to have all levels of government at the table so we can manage our costs by tapping into what each of us have to offer.
The province funded free monthly bus passes for low-income residents in a 2-year pilot starting on April of this year. Now, how will you sustain or scale all of that post-pilot?
So in April 2026, it'll be over. It was, this is an amazing program that the provincial government brought, but it's not municipal. But usually when something is started by the provincial government, it's pretty hard to pull it back because people get used to it. I want to work with the government. That is my big, I guess, platform on which I want the provincial government to come. So if we're all sitting at the table and we're all agreeing that this is a good program, let's move it forward. How can we, and we can probably help. As municipal government, we can probably help with how we're going to maintain this. Reaching out to the government is the best idea here right now.
Residential fully serviced mill rate remains at about 8.0. Now, with a $670 annual water and sewer unit and a $275 minimum tax. So my question is, will you adjust rates, bans, or relief programs to improve equity? And by equity, we're talking about variations of income, such as anyone low income, seniors, and such. Any
and all changes will have to be discussed during the budget period. And Unfortunately, the budget period starts right after we all become elected, new council. But it's a very, I guess, worthwhile project for everybody to have to go through a budget in the beginning. The $670 water sewer, that is put aside for our water treatment plant. And that is one of the top priorities for almost everybody who is running in this city in this election, is stop the sewer going out the bay. Any and all changes had to be discussed. We have a new financial director who is coming on, and I'm sure that he has some great ideas on how to think outside the box. And it'll certainly be open to support and review of relief programs for seniors, especially for them living in their own homes, and low-income households, while protecting the core services. We have core services that we have to offer. So we have to protect those, but is there other ways that we can actually cut back and streamline?
Cruise calls remain strong, and the port is adding warehouse capacity. What is your downtown port shuttle, wayfinding, and crowd management plan on those peak days?
Great question. Seeing on the way down today, I passed a cruise ship, and as coming down West Street, I was passing all the passengers, and they were all lined up. Actually, they were lined up to go visit the mill, which is really nice. The train is on today, taking them all around the city. This is one of our most successful ventures in our city of Corner Brook right now, is our cruise ships. And we have a great working relationship with the port, which is evident when you look at how great things are going and how smooth they're going. We have been very successful with shuttles, taking people wherever they want to go, whatever cruises they want to go on. And crowd control during the times the ships are in, doesn't seem to be bad. However, West Street is always very busy, and Broadway. I want to move it one step further, clean it up. Let's get it cleaned. Let's clean up West Street. Let's clean up Broadway. Let's clean up all the places and have some more welcoming signs. We have a market. We have an ambassador group that tells everybody what's available in the city. We have great maps. We have entertainment. We have markets. So let's take that one step further and clean it all up and make it welcoming for all the cruise ships.
Now, Kruger recently announced a proposed $700 million transformation of Corner Brook pulp and paper. What municipal levers will you use to support diversification while protecting the taxpayers?
The $700 million announced by Kruger is mostly comes from Kruger himself, but it's the province and the corporate. But I can see the city partnering with everybody that's involved in this to make it a success. We need zoning. We're obviously going to need zoning if there's $700 million going into the mill, and infrastructure alignments. This is not going to happen as it is today. So the city can certainly be of benefit there, but everybody has to be at the table, hear all the information, and then make our decisions. I would support encouraging the council to be a key player in this exciting adventure, because we need the mill.
Now I want to go back to a water treatment question. As we know, water treatment chemical costs have surged. Beyond fees, what demand management and leak reduction measures will you deploy to stabilize operating costs?
Once again, before I answer, I have to say we have some of the best water in the country, and that didn't come at a low cost. That was very expensive to do. I feel that one of the most important investments our council can make is leak detection. Let's find out what our leaks are. That's where we're losing a lot of our water. And all of the water that we lose through leak detection is chemically treated. So we're using chemically treated water in our leaks, which is raising the cost. So we have to certainly improve in our leak detection and improve in our aging infrastructure. I would support conservation campaigns and system upgrades. Let's put all those things together, and we will definitely reduce our operating cost.
Now, the Halibu First Nation is a big part of the city of Corner Brook, and I'm wondering, how will you formalize collaboration with them on things like procurement, place naming, cultural programming, and even youth employment, given that its head office is here in Corner Brook?
Actually, this is actually one of my priorities on my list of priorities that I have for the next 4 years, is working with all levels of government, as provincial, federal, and Halibut. And I want to develop a working partnership with Halibut First Nations. Partnerships will be formalized through council motions, like what do we have to offer Halibut and what do they have to offer us. And I certainly will support a collaboration between Halibut and City Hall. Meetings, we have to have regular meetings with both groups necessary to track the progress on procurements, cultural programming, and youth jobs. We have a lot of value in each of us, and we'll have more value if we combine.
Well, Linda, final question. Is there any final comment that you would like to say to voters before the election?
The statement I want to make to the voters is thank you for the last 16 years, putting your faith in me for 4 elections, and the last one as deputy mayor has certainly been a pleasure. Pleasure to work with you, pleasure to get to know you, pleasure to visit your homes and discuss your issues. I want to start this election with working together, stronger together. We're all going to be stronger together if we work together. And I want to make our city better, and I also want to be a mayor for all. So thank you very much for the last 16 years, and look forward to hopefully the next 4.
All right, I want to thank our current Deputy Mayor, Linda Chaisson, and Councillor Pamela Gill, both running for mayor in this year's municipal election, for coming in and having the opportunity to speak with them and ask them those very important questions. Hopefully the answers are answers you're looking for and will help you make your decision on who you want to choose for your next mayor of the city of Corner Brook. Be sure to step into the voting booth this year and make your voices heard. And of course, stay tuned to Rogers TV for opportunity to hear from all of those who are running for council this year as well. Again, thank you to Pamela and to Linda, and best of luck to both of you in this upcoming election.
Come to where the land and the spirits are intertwined. Discover a whole new way to see this place. Feel the earth under your feet as you walk the path of our ancestors. Immerse yourself in our traditions. Ours is a culture alive with music, dance, art, nature, and adventure. It's in the air, the water, the sound of the wind in the trees. It's in the stories of our elders and the faces of our children, those with a shared history yet to discover. It's knowing that everything that casts a shadow has a spirit. Everything is alive. See what we see. Experience Halibut.
We do 4 beats to call our ancestors to our circle. For 15 years, I was very involved with the community. And then one day, a tragedy happened. My 15-year-old grandson was killed in a car accident. There's nothing in this world like it. I went to a very dark place where all you can think about is the loss and the pain. And nothing else comes into your mind until one day you get a phone call and all of a sudden the light comes on and you remember, well, maybe I'll go, it may help, it may not help, But the moment that I got into the circle, and it was like a weight lifted. The culture is, for me, is what brought me back. My family, my friends too, as well, of course, in the community, but my culture, my beliefs, and the women. A healing circle is very powerful. You have women who have been through trauma, who at the moment are probably still going through trauma like I was, physically and emotionally. When the stick or the rock is passed around to each person and they speak, it's like a piece of your pain went to each of them. And when the stick comes back to you, half of that load on your shoulder seems to be lifted. It's very powerful, and it's there. It's offered to anybody who needs it. A healing circle can be called anytime. There are a lot of things that we offer in the culture, help offers in the culture, the Women's Association, with talking circles and healing circles, workshops, different workshops that you can come to. I think if you're focused on something other than your grief, it takes away for that little, that short period of time. It gives you some relief and something to look forward to. And I think every time you do that, it gives you little baby steps back into where you should be, back into your life and back into your community's life, your family's life.
My biggest therapy is Mother Nature. When I walk through the woods, I'm seeing a little bit more than just a tree and just a plant. I see what I can do with it. I make medicines and salves from plants and trees. In 2014, I suffered with a heart attack. Since I had my heart attack, obviously there were some Western medications involved. And on top of the Western medication, I have found myself nature-wise, and medicines provided by Mother Nature has helped me a lot. With nature, I have burned sage and sweetgrass. I find that that cleanses the air and helps you cleanse your body. It also helps me talk to my ancestors. That has helped me through this whole process. I feel responsible as a Mi'kmaq person to help Mother Nature. We look at everything, whether it is a rock or a tree, as life. When I collect my medicines, I'm offering tobacco to thank the plant for the medicine. So the plant will, give me medicine again the following year. It's a part of the big whole. Right now we're standing in the middle of a boreal forest. I can look around, I can see birch trees. Birch tree, for example, there's so many things you can do with that. That is the tree of life. Aboriginal people have used the bark for making canoes, for making shelter, for fire starting. There's a fungus that grows on birch, it's called chaga. I use that for my tea. It's a very, very good all-around tonic. Balsam fir trees, the blisters on those trees actually were used to heal cuts and scrapes. You cut yourself in the woods, the first thing we'll do is put some balsam fir sap on it. Society now is so fast. I think the world really needs to slow down and just enjoy nature and the smells and the sights and sounds. Well, this is where it all started in the beginning, was from our plants, and our animals and that kind of thing. Why not go back to the beginning and get back to our roots again? It's very important for the Mi'kmaq people to embrace native tradition. For many, many years, we were told not to be Aboriginal, and I think now society has embraced, Aboriginal peoples, and we should embrace our history in the sense of, traditional medicines and traditional foods. I think it's all a part of the culture that we've lost. So now we have an opportunity to reach out and find ourselves again.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
You're watching Rogers TV.
My name is Chase Nicholas. I am a Mi'kmaq hockey player. Growing up, I always remember my family talking about the Mi'kmaq as the creators of the game of hockey. In grade 7, I did research on Mi'kmaq hockey sticks as the first sticks of the NHL. I found a Mi'kmaq hockey stick made in 1917, the same year the NHL was formed. I was surprised to find out the very stick I was holding was made by my great-great-grandfather, Alexander Cope. In 1934, an elder known as Old Joe Cope wrote a letter to the Halifax Herald claiming the Mi'kmaq created hockey. I found out later that I am a direct descendant of Old Joe Cope. There was a time when Mi'kmaq children were torn from their families and not allowed to speak their language, losing their words and stories. But the stories are coming back to us. Stepping on the ice, I take pride knowing the roots of the game of hockey stem from my ancestors in the Mi'kmaq Nation.
This is Rogers TV.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have